Welcome first-time listeners and returners to the Sports Deli, where everyone deserves a seat at the table. What about fucking Colin? Why does he not have a fucking job? Because he's still being whiteballed. Why is Tom not speaking out about that? He should be his biggest fucking ally. And he hasn't said one fucking thing. A lot of people that have come on this show, I don't know why, they've gotten some good fucking jobs afterwards. Jim Rome in the jungle. It's right here in the Sports Deli, baby. We got some good ass karma right here. Let's fucking go.
I love it.
Man.
I love it.
We hope you enjoy today's show, everyone. All right, let's rock and roll. So today's podcast is brought to you by my Amazon shop. Check it out at amazon.com/shop/the Sports Deli. And you can see all the products that I've done videos on, my idea list, and my shoppable photos. I may make a commission on any of the things that you watch or see, but it's at no extra cost to you. Enjoy today's show. Do we have to refer to him as Mr. Duncan? I'm just wondering.
Yeah, please, I'm very formal, Secretary Duncan.
There you go. Exactly.
Just put a sir on the end of it. Secretary Duncan, sir.
All right, here we go. Hey, everyone. This is Hoot, host and producer of the Sports Daily Podcast. So I woke up this morning and I saw something that I couldn't believe. Now, most of you are going to minimize this and say, who cares, and go to the next podcast, and it's not going to resonate with you necessarily. But I'm going to try and put this in context for you in terms of the big picture and why I'm so frustrated about it. So, for those of you watching on YouTube, this shirt is of Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. It says, "Stay True" underneath it, and he has his hands in a praying position in protest of the national anthem in the 1990s, similar to what Colin Kaepernick did in 2016 by kneeling, protesting social injustice and police brutality. Now, most of you do not know who Mahmoud Abdul Rauf is, the former Chris Jackson. He played at LSU in college. He's from Mississippi. He had overcome a tremendous amount of things growing up, from Tourette syndrome to his mom and her addictions to having to find food in different ways as a kid, putting sugar on white bread because they didn't have money to buy 3 meals a day when he was younger. And you can read his book, and until today, you could have watched his documentary on Showtime called Stand. This is one of the things that gets me probably more hot than anything, because I grew up watching Chris Jackson, now Mahmoud Abdul Rauf, and he was one of my idols. So Mahmoud was Kobe before Kobe. He was notorious for his workouts. He was Colin before Colin, and he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry, and that's real. I'm not exaggerating any of those things. We just didn't have social media back then. So when I woke up this morning and I saw Mahmoud post that Showtime had taken Stand out of the carousel and that it was no longer available to us to watch on Showtime, man, it's bad enough that Mahmoud, who was playing in the Big Three, wasn't even told that he wasn't going to be playing in the Big Three this year. And although he posted that he was grateful for the opportunity, the fact that you're not sensitive enough as the organizers of that league to understand how you should treat Mahmoud differently than maybe some of the other players if you were going to go in a direction to not want him to play in the league anymore is mind-blowing to me. I don't care if you're Ice Cube, Ice Tea, Ice Tray, or Vanilla Ice. I don't care. The way they treated Mahmoud was absolute and utter crap. Now, I've gone on record in saying that HBO and the NBA owe Mahmoud a public apology. The NBA owes Craig Hodges a public apology. But my biggest issue is the players. We already know at this point that the Tom Bradys and the Aaron Rodgers and the Peyton Mannings and the Eli Mannings and the Tony Romos and the Troy Aikmans are never going to say anything. They're not going to mess around with their brand. And we've seen LeBron go out on a limb. We've seen Steph Curry go out on a limb. But who's going to stand up for this injustice? Now, most of you are going to say, well, who cares? It's a documentary. It matters. It matters so much. Not just to Mahmoud, but to the history of the league. It matters to Joslyn Rose Lyons, the director of Stand, because she had to endure so much and overcome so many obstacles to be able to put this production together. And she doesn't even know why this happened because I reached out to her and asked her, and she's literally in the dark as any of us, including Mahmoud. If you look at his posts this morning, he's completely baffled. No communication. Absolutely unbelievable. Now, is there a coincidence that Stan Van Gundy was fired from ESPN and this documentary being taken off the carousel at Showtime? I have absolutely no idea, and I do not care. But I know that things that are critical, or people that are critical of the NBA, seem to have things punitively affect them in the short term and in the long term. And the fact that David Stern, former NBA commissioner, and the current NBA commissioner, Adam Silver, have not publicly apologized to Mahmoud for how he was treated and how his career was cut short and how he would have been, he absolutely 100% unequivocally, undoubtedly, undeniably would have been a Hall of Famer. He was that fucking good. He just played in the wrong era. Man, if you haven't seen him play, you better go and watch some highlights on YouTube. Telling you he was Steph Curry before Steph Curry. Like, ridiculous. Shout out to Mahmoud, man. Like, you were literally my idol, man. Like, I got a lot of my moves from you and Kevin Johnson. Like, and I'll still drag motherfucker today. Like, I will get out there and I don't give a single fuck. Like, those moves still work along with Steve Smith. Like, the way that Mahmoud handled the ball inspired me to train and not muff the basketball. And if you did muff the basketball, then you learned how to counter when you were in the middle of something that was a mistake, but you made it look like you meant it. And shout out to Kevin Johnson, former mayor of Sacramento, who taught me a move that was life-altering. And Steve Smith, that move has been life-altering not just for me, but for everyone that I've trained, from professionals to kids. Anyways, sidebar. But even if I didn't admire Mahmoud growing up, what he's had to endure growing up and in the NBA and now with Showtime is ridiculous. It's a travesty of justice. And a lot of times people will say, well, this doesn't apply to me, or who cares, or get over it. Stop pulling the race card. You're always pulling the race card. No, I'm always pulling the ally card. And at least I have been since 2020. And there's things that I could wrap my head around in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, but not really since 2000, and definitely not since 2016. Not since Colin. And if you don't have an interest in educating yourself and thinking, well, it was just mixing politics and sports, just shut up and dribble. I agreed with Fox. Yeah? Well, what do you think now? Now it's not just sports and politics, and we like to speak up and dribble. We like to raise awareness. We like to listen here in the Sports Deli. We like to share and mobilize and try and educate, and other people don't. Other companies don't. Other networks don't. They will succumb to the pressures of big pharma, the NBA, money, oil, and land. So it's really disheartening because now, as I said, it's not just social injustice. Now it's books. Now it's the LGBTQIA plus community not being allowed to have health benefits. Now it's pro-choice. So you see what happens when you don't pay attention or you act like it doesn't fucking apply to you. What happens is they use that and weaponize it, and now they're mobilizing in a different kind of way because you're not paying attention and you're thinking it doesn't apply to you. But let me repeat that. For those of you in the back of the room, so that I make sure that you hear exactly what I'm talking about, because you're part of the fuckery and the Travis Shamockery that you've made of this country and of sports. Because of your behavior and my behavior, this is the type of shit that not only happens, but allows white older men to get away with. And until the NFL athletes, the NFL owners, the NBA players, the NBA owners, the commissioners of both of those leagues, the Major League Baseball owners, the Major League Baseball commissioners, and the players, until all of them collaborate in the right ways, instead of claiming they have to put food on their tables and they have a small window of opportunity before their careers are over, until they collaborate and strike and demand justice, there's nothing more than sponsorship, television, lawsuits, and social media in particular that will put pressure on whatever it is that we're talking about to enact change, to demand change. And look at the WNBA. The WNBA doesn't fuck around. Those players do not fuck around. They don't give a single. First of all, they don't get paid that much. They get paid more than they used to. The top salaries are in the $250,000 range. But they're willing to lose it all in order to stand up for what they believe in, like in 2020, changing 2 elections and forcing an absolutely unqualified owner at the time of the Atlanta Dream, Kelly Loeffler, out. The fuck out. I'm not going to sell. Yes, you the fuck are, Kelly. And you did. Get the fuck out. No one wants you as an owner of the Atlanta Dream. They didn't mention her name, but everyone knew who they were talking about. And finally, she was forced to sell because of the backbone of the individual and collective effort of the WNBA, which the NFL doesn't have, which the NBA doesn't have, which Major League Baseball does not have. They collectively and individually across the board have no backbone. None. I've lost everything. I've lost my college coaching jobs, plural. I was a head college basketball coach and a head college tennis coach. Lost them all because of sexual discrimination and retaliation. I lost all my teaching classes, 10 total per semester, and been living on my savings. But do you think I would have taken 1 cent if I had seen this type of injustice just so that I could put food on my table? Nope, I wouldn't have. If I was an NBA, NFL, or Major League Baseball player, I would have retired unless Colin Kaepernick had had a job, unless Bruce Maxwell had had a job, and unless there's a public apology to Craig Hodges and Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. And now there's an opportunity for all of those people to do what's right and stand up for Mahmoud's injustice that just happened at Showtime. HBO should be giving him a public apology because of the narrative that they portrayed him to be as a part of 9/11 back when 9/11 happened. The NBA should give him and Craig Hodges a public apology. Showtime needs to stand back up in the carousel so that we can watch it. I don't care if it was a mistake. I don't care if it was intentional. It's time to do the right thing. And it's time for everyone to stand up. Now, I'm probably not going to get more than 100 people watching this. That's fine. I average about 100 people watching and listening to my podcast. But I'm going to stay true. So here's the thing. So at what point should it be my call to action? And at what point should I expect, or should we expect, someone else who's an influencer who can leverage their platform to do something instead of remaining silent and not saying that doing things quietly behind closed doors isn't impactful and important? It is. But obviously I have a call to action. Nobody cares about my call to action. I don't have a platform to leverage. I'm not someone who can go to Showtime and say to them, like a LeBron would in the NBA, I'm not playing anymore unless this happens. Or if Tom Brady had said, I'm not playing anymore unless this happens with Colin. I don't have that platform to leverage. So what exactly am I supposed to do if I don't at least challenge people to at least think about publicly saying something, because social media is powerful? And what are the next steps? And will you be willing to put your job on the line if something doesn't happen in this space? Now, I can't tell anyone else to do. Do Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson have to do something? No. Did Tom Brady have to do anything when the whole Colin Kaepernick thing was going on? No. In my eyes, I thought they should have leveraged their platform and done more. If I was Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes, and I know people that I've messaged with today already disagree with me about this. If I were them, I would not continue to work unless this was remedied. They don't have to do that. They've worked really hard to get where they are. Matt Barnes has met with President Biden. He's done a lot to make inroads in a lot of spaces. Matt Barnes has been transparent. Matt Barnes has evolved, that he's spoken about both personally, professionally. He's transitioned amazingly well. I think he's an amazing guy. But there are crossroads, and there comes a point in time in any profession when you have a job, in many instances, where you have to make a decision. The toughest decision that maybe you'll ever have to make. And I'm just saying, for me, I would put my job on the line for this. And other people not only could care less about it, they don't think it's a thing. They would just tell him to move on, that he had a good run. Maybe the documentary will be available elsewhere. To me, that's remaining silent, and that type of thing is what continues to perpetuate and allow people to get away with silencing people, canceling people, instead of what the opposite should be, which is fighting for people that are fighting against social injustice, police brutality, and systemic racism. So again, no matter who I call out to leverage their platform, whether it's JJ Redick or Rex Chapman or Matt Barnes or Steven Jackson, it's ultimately on me, my call to action. But I think that those athletes, similar to the way that the WNBA did, and those players, obviously it's always up to them. But I would hope, I would plead with them to truly think about the fact that this is such a huge injustice. Maybe there's a good reason that comes out later that we don't know about. But I'm sure people like Matt are behind the scenes trying to do something. I'm sure Steven Jackson is behind the scenes trying to figure out exactly why this happened. But what's next? That's just the one thing that I want to know. The other thing I want to acknowledge is I can't possibly, and I've said this many times before, I can't possibly know what it's like to be a black man or a black woman in America, or a woman for that matter. So the only thing that I'm commenting on is based on my observations, my experiences with my show and my life. And I don't think I'm out of line to suggest that people who have certain platforms should leverage those platforms to give, in this case, Showtime, an ultimatum. Again, people can disagree respectfully. I understand it. I'm just telling you what I would do. So, like I said, I have no idea what it's like to live that life at that level in the NBA, in Hollywood, being involved with Showtime, being a black man or a black woman in America, being a woman in America. I don't understand what it is to be in those spaces. All I know is what I've learned, and this is my call to action. Now, having said that, I don't know why Showtime pulled it. I have absolutely no idea. Mahmoud doesn't even know based on the post that Mahmoud posted today on Instagram. This shit is layered, and not that anyone gives a single fuck that I'm hot today. But I would really hope that you understand the magnitude of letting something like this go by remaining silent. Because we've seen over time that your silence is deafening, individually and collectively. But when you come together, change happens. So I would encourage you, I would hope, so that if there's ever a time when you need us, that you stand up for this type of injustice. Even if it doesn't totally resonate with you, even if you don't understand it, I'm telling you that this is absolute and utter bullshit, and it's an absolute injustice. If you compare it to some of the other things that are still on Showtime, it's literally and absolutely ridiculous. So, Mahmoud, shout out to you. Craig Hodges, shout out to you. Bruce Maxwell, shout out to you. And Colin Kaepernick, shout out to you. And obviously all the people from Tommy Smith to John Carlos to Muhammad Ali to Serena Williams to Venus Williams to everybody else in this space who have fought for this type of thing not to happen. And we need white people like me, older white people, to be mad about it, to be irritated about it, to do something about it. Because if we don't do something, we're the ones still running society. Then nothing's going to happen. Until next time, this is Hootie Hoot. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Remember, Black Lives Matter. And until next time, much love. Peace. Now go do the right thing. Thanks again for joining us today, everyone. Feel free to send me an email to thesportsdeli@gmail.com. Also, check out my link tree. It's /Mike Hootner. Also, like to thank a few people. 40 Tons brand is a socially conscious cannabis brand, and they're doing amazing things. Check them out. We'd also like to thank Moolah Kicks, the first ever female brand basketball shoe in the history of the world. We'd also like to encourage you, if you're having a hard day and if you're feeling like you just don't want to live anymore, all you have to do is dial 988 from any phone, and there will be someone there 24/7, 365. So don't feel like you have to fight this battle alone. Don't forget to do your self-breast and self-testicular exams every month. It's really important, as early detection is the key. Remember, Black Lives Matter. Reach out to your local and state politicians for any individual or group that you feel are being marginalized. Stop the bullying. Stop the Asian hate. Let's end gun violence with common sense laws. Let's be allies for the LGBTQIA+ community, And I challenge those of you in the white space to be anti-racist, to be bridges and vessels, to help bridge the gaps between black and white America. And remember, until next time, it takes a village, everyone. Much love.